The secret room in the sky in Super Mario Sunshine. One of my favorite things in games is accessing inaccessible areas. A place in a game that the player normally does not know exists, or an area in a game that the player can see but cannot reach. The pillars in the Sandbird area come to mind, as the player can see all these giant pillars, but can only ever stand on one. Even the ring on the middle pillar could be stood on, which is an odd detail. Now, these are things that I can see though, so I do know they exist. But what if the area you're looking for is completely invisible? Something that does not exist visually, but is hidden so far up in the sky that you never find it. Well, that's where we find ourselves today, because such a place exists in Super Mario Sunshine. I hope you enjoyed this video breakdown. When I'm not spending my time shooting enemies with my handy-dandy water gun, I can normally be found grinding out dungeons with a different kind of weapon. And thanks to My Heroes Dungeon Raid, the sponsor of today's video, I can keep rushing into the chaos I crave. My Heroes Dungeon Raid is a dungeon-crawling pixel shooter RPG, where you can plow through hordes of enemies as you make your way through tons of levels. Pixel art is my jam, and I've loved spriting since I was a kid, so the art style in this game was right up my alley. In-game, players are able to build upon their skills by playing alone, or they can team up with friends to battle against each other. You can even join a guild. There's tons of different outfits, weapons, and even pets. And there are 5 different classes you can pick from. Tweaking your build is crucial for taking on all sorts of dangerous bosses and other players. The fast nature of the game keeps it fresh, and overall, it's a lot of fun to take on all these different foes. Just make sure you stay on your toes so you don't get overrun. So if you want to join the battle yourself, install My Heroes Dungeon Raid by clicking my link in the description below, and enter my code to get additional bonuses. And a big thanks to My Heroes Dungeon Raid for sponsoring this video and supporting me as a creator. Alright, let's tackle the secret room. One of the most bizarre places to me in Super Mario Sunshine is the airstrip. I don't know if I was too young at the time or what, but I honestly had no idea this was a place that could be revisited. I thought you simply landed here at the start of the game, and you never went back. Now in Super Mario Galaxy, I absolutely loved the Star Festival, so I was happy to discover that after beating the game completely with Luigi, that I could go back to it for a final level. But this never occurred to me in Super Mario Sunshine. I had no idea that once you entered Corona Mountain, after the flooding subsided, that you could catch a boat to go over there. You grab 10 coins from around the plaza, visit the dude by the dock, and then make your way back over to this sort of hidden level. So for the first decade of owning this game, I don't think I'd ever been there. But it's necessary to fully complete the game, which is a task I never did as a kid. But this airstrip area is actually the subject of this video, because it's this obscure level that has a secret in the sky. And the first documentation I could find about this object was actually on the cutting room floor back in June of 2015 by Catley. Now, you can't see it, but way above this level is an invisible room. It's directly above the tall building that's at the front of the airstrip. If we were to take Mario and utilize rocket storage or just cheat with a moon jump, we'll eventually land within this room. As you can see, Mario is trapped within an invisible box. Upon entering this room, you'll notice that 2 coins are now present. Alongside this, 2 winged, strolling stews are within the room. So not only is there an invisible room in the sky, but now there's 4 inaccessible coins that the player would never normally get. None of these objects can be found from the ground either. Even if you made it on top of the tall building and looked up, you wouldn't see anything. Same goes for if you climb the pole. Speaking of which, I guess I never noticed that Mario just floats in front of the pole and doesn't actually climb it. He's a magic fellow. Even at the top of the pole, we can't see the coins or the stews, and this is because they unload once we get out of the range of the room. However, if we were to open one of the doors up with a turbo nozzle, the stews can then exit the room and fall down below. If this happens, we can see them on the roof or nearby. Okay, so what's exactly going on here? Why is there a room in the sky that is only made of colliders? Even viewing the wireframe reveals that no model is present at all, and only the physical dimensions of the room are intact. Well, to understand this, we have to first talk about building interiors in Super Mario Sunshine. So, let's head on over to Delfino Plaza. Within Delfino Plaza, there are several buildings that Mario can go inside of. Once he steps inside of a building, the interior immediately loads around him, and the rest of the map is blocked out by a bluish void. But there's a visual cue that not all is what it seems. If you've ever noticed that Mario staggers when entering or exiting a building, it's because he's essentially landing on the ground. What you can't see is that Mario's position is being instantly modified, and he's getting warped across the map, and this warp takes him way into the sky. The truth is, building interiors in this game are stored directly above the building, far out of reach unless Mario utilizes an exploit like rocket storage or a cheat. Whether we're trading in blue coins or looking to smash boxes as quickly as possible, this is the case. Both of these are way up in the air. However, if Mario accesses these locations without using the designated warp, then the environment will fail to load. Only the objects will show up. So what you're left with is just a floating character or boxes up in the sky. Trying to walk out the front door causes Mario to fall, because the warp area was never properly loaded. So this means that the room in the sky isn't actually invisible, it's just that the trigger for warping Mario and loading the room was pulled from the game. In reality, this is what the room in the sky actually looks like. And a lot of you may recognize that this looks familiar. It's actually a larger, more detailed version of the interior of the building down below. And honestly, the one in the sky looks a lot more welcoming. Down below, the room is dark and lower detail, whereas up in the sky, it feels more welcoming and spacious. The room in the sky has additional items too. There's gem-like objects on one of the benches, and paper airplanes across from them. There's writing utensils and paper on the back desk, and there's hanging plants in the room. There's an additional couch in the room behind the potted plant that doesn't exist in the room down below too. On the check-in desk, there appears to be a passport stamp, whereas the version we got lacks this detail. You can tell they just took objects in the room and smushed them down directionally in their X or Z values, because the pots look way flatter and stranger down below. Overall, we kind of got a depressing interior, while there's a vivid version of this room hidden way above us. What's interesting is that if you were to access this room at the beginning of the game, when you first land on the airstrip, it is completely empty. Trying to open any of the doors with the turbo nozzle crashes the game too. Same with the ones down below. So all of this begs the question, why cut this room? And more specifically, why cut it at the last minute? I strongly believe this room was removed late in the game, because when they copied the map to make the secondary version of it, they went ahead and added enemies and coins in the interior, whereas this isn't the case with the original. The map files are in completely different areas, unlike how they normally do them. DolpicEX0.arc is stored under exterior areas for Delfino Plaza, whereas the airstrip at the start of the game is named Airport0.arc in the files, stored in a separate set. While setting up shine tasks on the endgame version of the map, that's when the choice to delete it was made. Or at least in my opinion, and I have a couple hunches as to why. For one, the turbo nozzle gateways are tied together. If you break a gate down below, it also gets opened up above. Now, this could be unrelated, but if someone used the turbo nozzle through the area and opened both doors, it's possible that the winged strolling stews could fall out of the room if they wandered through an open door. The player would then see them falling out of the sky. However, another reason could be due to the 100 coin shine sprite, because there are coins within the interior section. That means the player could trigger the Delfino Plaza coin shine from inside the building. The animation for spawning the coin shine involves the camera moving from the player's position to where the shine spawns, and this would have broken the illusion of the building in the sky. The camera would have panned through the wall way down to the ground below, and the player would have lost their mind. Also, because the intention for these doors was to use the turbo nozzle, seeing as the coin shine is basically a big turbo nozzle watercourse, there's the idea that the player would have raced through the section super fast, thus making them warp to the sky and then following it with a warp to the ground a second later. That could have been really disjointing, but one last thing to consider is that maybe the issue stemmed from the timer for the red coin challenge. The timer resets upon warping the box building in Delfino Plaza, so it's possible there was an issue there too. That one's a stretch though. But honestly, a lot of these explanations don't seem like there would be difficult fixes. If the coins or enemies are an issue, just cut them. It wouldn't seem reasonable to scrap an area based on that logic alone. But I suppose that would have given no purpose to this being a separate room then. Was the coin shine the reason? It does make you wonder. Anyways, I'd love to hear your reasoning on why you think this was scrapped in the comments below. Subscribe now if you enjoyed this, and I'll see you all soon. Cheers!